Hey, we're live again. I was about to put in my other earbud, so that's what I was doing. Whoop. There we go.
I was
There we
scratching my
go.
face.
Aloha, aloha, Stacy.
Aloha. I'm in one of my favorite places in the whole world, Waikiki.
Nice.
Yes.
Kiki. Nice. It's such a pleasure to be live again here on Real Estate Now. And as we do every quarter now, we are bringing the real estate update to you. And here we go. But before we jump into the real estate update,
Yes.
should we talk about the four-letter word that starts with R?
Yes.
Rate.
Yes. What is going on with
Rate.
rate? Yes.
Yeah, rates. Oh, whoops. I still have the castle we were looking at. If anybody's looking for a $7 million castle on Lake
It's
Pend
half
Oreille in
built.
Idaho, that's half built. There's a $7
Uh-huh.
million castle that just hit the market, 8,000 square feet. Beautiful. Go check it out. It's on 27 Rough Road and it's in a rough shape. But if you got an extra $7 million to throw down, well, yeah, there it is. So rates shifted up, my friend. Rates shifted up this week. We went through this trend of up, and then we came back down. And then the last couple of weeks, we came back down. Now we're going back up. So what does
So
it
what
mean?
happened
What
with
does it all
we
mean?
got some news yesterday where we thought maybe it would help rates, and it did, like by
It did.
0.001%.
Yeah, it did a little bit.
Yeah. It's not what we were really expecting, but yes. What was going on with yesterday's news?
Well, yesterday's news was inflation numbers for June, and inflation numbers are up. And now the big hubbub was that the Fed's going to have to do more corrective action. And that corrective action, which was forecasted somewhere about a 0.75 increase to the prime rate and the overnight lending rates, it may turn into a full point, right? So
Yeah.
that would be pretty substantial. And I'll tell you this. If it's anything less than 3/4 of a point increase in the prime rate, the mortgage market is not going to like it. They're going to see that as a weak stance on the inflation front. They're going to see that as a negative, and that the Fed is really not into making sure that the inflation issues that we're all dealing with are being addressed in a timely fashion. So what does that mean for all you fine folks out there in the mortgage world? What that means is for the mortgage market, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact for the first mortgage market, right?
Yeah.
So for the folks that have HELOCs, for the folks that have credit cards, for the folks that have revolving lines of credit that go up and down with the market, you're going to see that impact your monthly minimum payments. So whether it's your Visa card, your American Express, your home equity line of credit, you're going to see that immediately in your next billing cycle after the Fed does their move on the rate front. So
Yeah. So when is that? When are the Feds? When will we know that? Because I'm seeing lots of posts out there like, watch out for your credit cards, watch out for all these things, but no one's really giving the dates.
So the next plan of action that they're meeting the final week of July, and there will be, so in 2 weeks, they'll make some definitive actions on the 27th of July. So what that means also is I'm very hopeful that it's 1 point. I want it to be 1 point. We do need to squelch the inflation issue. We do need to slow down the economy and get right again. So I'm hoping that they come out with a point. If they come out with a point, that'll be a strong showing. As far as the first mortgage rates are concerned, I don't see much issue right now. I think we're going to continue to float between that 5.5% and 6% range for the balance of the summer. So we'll see how that all plays out. But do know that those credit cards and those home equity lines of credit will be going up. I fully anticipate that in some way, shape, or form at the end of the month. So there you have it. Yeah.
I think it's going to be 3/4, but we'll see.
Well, I hope at the bottom floor level, it's at least 3/4. If it's anything less than that, there will be turbulence in the first mortgage market. Scout's honor, right? So anyway, moving right along from there, I will say one more thing on rates, and this will lead us into the current state of the market. And I think people are now getting used to rates in the fives. right? So the conversations that I'm having, and we're going to bring in Aaron Thomas right now with the Aaron Thomas team. Aaron, how are you, my friend?
Really well.
Awesome.
It's finally summer, right? Jeez.
Yes.
Finally summer. Absolutely.
July 5th in the Pacific Northwest is when it comes.
Yeah. So as I was saying, Aaron, the buyer sentiment that I'm talking with the folks that are looking to get pre-approved right now, right here, they're like, 5% is what it is, right? 5.5% is what it is. I need to move because my rent just went up, or my landlord is kicking me out because they're selling the property, kind of thing. So I think there's a sentiment that people are wrapping their head around 5%, 6%. What are you feeling out there?
Yeah, the people that have been in it for a while and haven't gotten a home yet, they're getting over the sticker shock of that increase,
Yeah,
and
right.
They're starting to realize it wasn't just an overnight 3% jump and then back down again to 3% and 4% rates. They're realizing now that they're in it for the long haul. I think what everybody's not aware of or is sleeping on or not mindful of is what will happen if they purchase a house now, what will happen next year or the year after in terms of like being able to refinance.
Yeah, I think that is a short-sighted thing, that if we take a pragmatic approach, we've talked about it a few times, Stacy, on the show, that when we look as we're going into an economic recession, rates spike up, and then after the economic recession, rates come down.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a little bit of a blip on the radar, in my opinion, and I think in the near future, the next 3 years, that folks that are buying today will more than likely have the opportunity to refinance out of their higher interest rate into something more palatable. But still, when we're talking about 5% interest rates over the long-term run of mortgage rates getting back to the 50s, 60s, what have you, 5% is still a great rate.
Absolutely.
So
and
Aaron,
I wouldn't plan on it. I mean, I think that's historically what's always happened, but we need to be careful how we talk to the consumers. But it would be great if they did fall in the next couple of years for them. Yeah.
Hey, and so I'm glad folks are getting over the sticker shock. What are you feeling on the inventory side and the selling side of the coin?
So down south where we're at, and I'm pretty sure this is going on everywhere. Acutely, we're seeing, so short term, we're seeing that inventory rise quite a bit. What a lot of people aren't understanding or mindful of is that happens every year in June and July.
Yes,
so
thank you. Why is no one talking about this?
Exactly. So what you got to do is go.
Last July was different, right? But let's go back to every other year.
You got to go back to pre-pandemic activity to gauge what's going on now, and for context, So. And we're finally seeing back to a point of inventory of numbers that we saw in the 2018s to 2019s. And so it's that pivot point, the transition point that's occurring. So it's not a, the sky is falling type of situation or anything like that. It's just a return to normalcy. What a lot of people are confused about is, are prices dropping, or the difference between prices and value of homes, so we're seeing a lot of price reductions. So yes, prices are dropping in some cases. It doesn't mean that the overall value of the homes collectively is, though. So the two things can be true at once, right? That's what I feel like a lot of people are having a hard time grasping. So the way
is it like they were like setting the selling prices as if they were going to continue to climb, and
exactly.
Then they're just so they're just settling back down to.
They're looking at that peak point of comparable sales that occurred in February, March, and April, because that's what they have for data to price the home.
Right.
And they're not necessarily mindful of what's actually occurring out there, which is in our market, a home for $550 is now, in some cases selling at $525.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you compared, when you went back, sorry, Keith, I have one more question for Aaron. When you say we're kind of back to the 2018, 2019, did you actually pull the stats? Like, is your inventory where it is?
Yeah, it's very close. It's still not back to those numbers, though. We're still shy of those numbers.
Because I can't imagine you have over a month of inventory yet, do you? Or do you down south?
I think we're seeing a temporary rise of inventory, closer to that 1 month of supply. It depends on how you pull those numbers, what exactly you're looking at. But the main thing when I pull numbers is just to use the same data source every single time, right? Over and over, same day. Because let's be real, you got to look at the amount of new listings. The amount of active listings can fluctuate from a Monday to a Friday to a Saturday. But we're seeing less of the offer review dates. So personally, our team has put 5 under contract in the last 2 days.
Beautiful.
So we're going in and we're writing an offer and we're winning. So there's less competition out there overall.
Right.
Oh, you're just really good, Aaron Thomas.
No, not at all. No.
Well,
You're too humble.
Aaron, I'm gonna bring this back in just from a mortgage slant. We're really in this dicey time right now because everybody's comparing things to 21 and 20, and that was like pandemic stuff. If we go back to July, right here, the high watermark was November 2018. We were at 5%, 4.94% interest rates. So if we look at where we are now and then where we were pre-pandemic, we're not that far off the bubble. So I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of folks are hearing those headlines that are comparing this year to last year. Yeah. And I mean, there should be, in the statistic books, there should be the asterisk, right? The ubiquitous asterisk. Like, this is kind of skewed because.
Yeah, exactly. The consumer just looks at it, most consumers look at it as a cost per month, right? So the one thing that is different is we are dealing with higher prices, higher home values. So the monthly payments are higher than back then. So that's what makes the rise in the interest rate, harder for them to swallow.
That's true. You've had 2 solid years of double-digit appreciation, and so that's manifesting itself there as well. Yeah. However, I want to go back to a point you made. Buyers, I don't want to call it a buyer's market, but this is the most buyer-friendly market we've had since when?
100%. Yeah, you've got to go back to that same time when the supply was that amount, Yeah. So pre-pandemic for sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the pandemic just made a lot of people have to move, or they decided they want vacation homes, or they decided that they could work from home, and this house is no longer good for working from home, so let's buy a new one, right?
Lots of that.
Yeah. So let me clarify. Did you just say this is a buyer's market, or we're getting closer to that?
By definition, we are nowhere near close to a buyer's market. So that's measured by, it's debatable, but about 5 months of supply, meaning no other homes are listed. It would take 5 months for all of them to sell. And we're talking about, 1 month. And in some locations it has risen, up to 2. So it depends on if you're looking at the whole county or you're looking at in specific areas. That's where you see a lot of fluctuations. That's why people are sort of confused, because we still have a lot of areas where if you want to buy, say, a $500,000 home and you want to be in this zip code, there might not be any for sale, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Darcy wasn't able to join us here today, but we had one where we got right in. It listed day 1 on Friday, and we got in, awesome offer, and we lost that one. So those neighborhoods, those very desirable places, are still going.
Sure, you've got to be mindful.
Split.
Yeah, it's got to be the real estate agent, working with the listing agent of the property to determine what their plan is. Are they going to wait and sit and then look at a collective of offers, or just can you submit one and then get that one reviewed and maybe get the house? But yeah, we're seeing a lot of situations where there's little competition, but if that house is priced really well and it is desirable, like I call it a 10 out of 10, right? It's a 9 or a 10 out of 10. Gotcha. If the house is a 9 or a 10 out of 10, based off of location, condition, or price being excellent, 1 or all 3, then that thing is maybe going to get multiple offers. So it's very confusing, right? Are we going to have, are we dealing with multiple offers, or can we just buy the home for the listing price? Or even can we offer less than the listing price?
I was just going to ask that if you're seeing people offer less, but it sounds like it's very specific to how the initial price was set, which makes sense.
Exactly. If that home does not sell in the first week or 2, we're either seeing a reduction or we're seeing somebody come in and purchase it for list price or less, you know.
That's another
okay.
question I have. Why, after 1 week on the market,
Mhm.
are we reducing prices? Why? Like, that's like,
people
oh
have
my
that
gosh.
people have that recency bias of every home getting an offer in the first few days, right?
Right.
It's just wired in the real estate agent's head. It's like now wired in some of the consumers' heads if they've been paying attention, and it's really not necessary. But we are finding that people who need to move in this environment, it's like they have to move, so they're buying another home. They need it sold, you know.
So can we thank Amazon for that?
Yeah. we
Well,
can.
like I order it last night and it should be on my doorstep tomorrow.
Same
Seriously.
day.
Yeah, same day.
I mean, we're all from Washington, so we get stuff quick. And now I'm in Hawaii, and I'm like, what is this? I can't get anything for 2 weeks.
If you guys look at the stats on phone call pickup rates, you know, the consumer's attention span is all of ours. We're consumers too, right? Our attention span is getting lower and lower and lower, you know.
Yeah, we're all goldfish.
If I get a long email, I don't want to read the whole email. Let's be real, you know. You know, you guys sit in front of computers most of the day, I think.
Yes.
So for you,
I love you, Aaron. I tell the team all the time,
I'm in
tell
my
me
car.
the whole, yes, you're in your car. Tell me the whole story if you want, but bullet point it out, because I'm only going to read the bullet points.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad we put on this business curriculum of how to write an effective email. But
absolutely.
Aaron, I will let you choose which side of the coin you want to start on. But right now, in the buyer side and on the seller side, what are the 2 or 3 key things that they should be bringing to the market mentality-wise?
Sellers need to be looking at the pricing of the home and being careful, right? It's no longer the time to price ahead of the market. It's no longer the time to try to be greedy. It's no longer the time to inspect or to expect that the buyer's going to waive all their contingencies just to buy the house.
That's a great point.
It's no longer the time to expect multiple offers. So it's just being that extra layer of caution and being careful and treating it more like a traditional balanced real estate market, even though we're in this little temporary situation. So the question is do you want to sell now? Do you need to sell now? Or do you want to wait and see if the inventory slips back down again in the fall? Because it will, you know, statistically it does every year. Buyers need to be mindful that same thing. You may have to compete or you may not. If you're chasing this beautiful home, there might be competition. If it's newly listed, there may not be. So you got to work with the agent, you know, that you're working with to, you know, be really strategic with how you're going to write that offer, because you may not need to come in 50,000 over asking to win the bid, because you may not be competing with anybody else, right? So why would you?
A great point. Yeah, that's great. There's a meme or something I saw about somebody bidding against himself. It's like, I'm bidding against yourself. What are you doing? Slow down.
Exactly. I think though it's a great. It is the best time it's been in a long time to go and try if you need to purchase a house, or even if you just want to. I would be looking at it right now. I mean, we have been competing with other agents, you know, trying to win offers for our buyers, and we've never had it to where it was so easy, you know.
Right.
We got to go all the way back to 2018.
2018. I echo that same sentiment, man. Summer of 2018, if you wanted to buy a house, you could get pre-approved. I could hand you over to Aaron. Aaron could get you in the car and you could be under contract within a couple days.
Yeah.
So we have that similar thing. So the buyers, you know, I've been kind of coaching this way. I said, yeah, buyers right now, you're paying a higher interest rate, but you're not dropping an extra $100K on the house.
Exactly.
So you kind of have to balance this out, right? Yeah, absolutely. Do the math. And so I'm like, if you could save that $100K and make it outperform your 5.5% interest rate, you're coming out ahead, my friend. So
that's a great point to talk about how we're using seller concessions.
Yeah.
So for some people, and Aaron, you're probably doing this already, but if you're feeling like you need to drop that price after a week, the one example that's just easy to understand would be a jumbo, but doesn't have to be. But let's say it's a jumbo and the consumer feels like they need to drop the price $100,000. On that particular loan, let's say max seller concessions is 6%. right? So let's just say it's $50,000. That's a lot. Like, so this is a huge example. That $50,000 can buy the consumer's interest rate down, so their payment is less, even though they're not getting $100,000 off the price. They're getting $50,000 from the seller. The seller's happy because they're not losing $100,000; they're only losing 50. So you got a lower house payment, less money from the seller, and everybody's happy. 100% of consumers, lenders, agents should at least look at that on every home to see if it makes sense. It's not always going to make sense, but it
I'm going to do a mortgage coach. I'm going to put a mortgage coach in the chat here so you guys can click on the link, look at the mortgage coach in that same example and see the power of actually a seller credit.
Are you going to do it on here?
Yeah. I'll put it in the comments down here.
Okay.
I can't do it right now because
builders should be looking at that. I mean, honestly, everybody should be looking at that as an option. And a consumer's not going to know seller concessions on FHA, VA, jumbo, conforming, whatever. Just talk to your lender or someone like Aaron, who's very knowledgeable in the lending space. But not all agents will know either. So just find out what that is and let a professional run the numbers for you. But
so you're looking at doing buy downs of the interest rate seller, where the seller covers that in lieu of a price reduction. So
when I see these huge price reductions, I'm like, why are we doing this? A consumer would be way happier if we just spent less money and could lower their rate.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things too. You can float that out there. If you were to list your home, you can float that out there before you drop the price. You can always pull that incentive back as a marketing strategy now and then lower the price. You can do a combination of both and have the best of both worlds. But Stacy's right; it's worth the attempt because
for sure.
when you look at it, it benefits every single party to that transaction more than dropping the price.
Well, and now more than any time, I think the real estate community and the lending community need to be working together to come up with those solutions to be presented back to the clients. Because to Stacy's point, the majority of sellers and the majority of buyers don't know that that's an option, right? So they're like, oh, wow, you guys both win in this scenario where we do the rate buy down as opposed to a listing reduction. So,
we have loan officers on our team reaching out to the agents they work with and running that scenario on 100% of the listings they have, just so they know as they're out there with their properties.
Yep, it's important. Aaron, I have a question. This came up to one of my potential buyers. They're still in that situation where they have to sell their home and buy the next one. Are contingent offers being entertained by sellers right now?
Yes, they are. It is for that scenario where the home is not in a multiple offer situation in the first few days. Then we're seeing people go in with a contingent offer and win the home. There's a lot more contingent status homes in the MLS right now.
Gotcha. And I bring that up because I want to, we haven't talked contingency, we haven't talked contingency since 2018, right?
Yeah.
But what does that mean if I need to buy a house and I'm going to go sell mine and I'm going to be contingent? What does that mean for me, the buyer? I think it's important we bring this back up. Because that's not locked that I'm going to go buy that house, right? A contingent offer isn't lock, stock, and barrel.
Yeah. So if you're the buyer and you purchase it contingent, it doesn't mean that. It means that you have first right to purchase the home, but you do have to execute selling your house in order to do it. What a lot of people.
If this one over here decides the house that I have under contingent contract, she wants to make an offer that's not contingent, then she can bump me off of that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. There's a duration of time that you would have to, correct that. So what the point that you're trying to make, I think, is make sure if you're writing a contingent offer that you truly have to sell that home instead of you just want to, because you can qualify non-contingent in a lot of cases and people just directly think they have to write the contingent offer.
Right. That's where I was going. And also a lot of folks, I had one recently that was a contingent offer that got bumped and they weren't willing to hold both loans and wait until their departing residence sold. So it's a conversation piece of you folks out there that are looking contingent, know that if somebody wants to make a full price offer and bump you, you are a bumpable offer at that point. So you get the choice then to go contingent or go non-contingent. So
yeah, the biggest thing is being prepared before anything even happens. You run all the scenarios before you get into it, right? This is like writing your grocery list before going to the store, you know, and do what I do when I go to the store, which is just look around and grab things, right? It takes me a long time. I'm in the store a lot longer.
And then there's one step past that when you didn't make the list and you're hungry.
Yeah.
The stuff you put in your cart, it's just like, what am I doing?
But if you think about it, it's the equivalent of forgetting your debit card, right? So how much cash do you have? Are you going to be able to check out with your items?
Oh, no.
It's also, I think, a better time to be looking at properties that might need a little bit of work because it's the construction market is loosening up a bit, right? And it's not as hard to get supplies. There's still some issues, but not like it was a year ago.
Yeah, there's some areas where builders are providing incentives now. They're actually having a hard time moving their properties right now, you know, in the last 30, 60 days and right now.
Yeah, true builder, yeah. Sorry, I meant renovation. But yeah, builders, builders I think have the highest cancellation rate they've had since it's been tracked, I think. I don't know, Aaron, you might have the stat, but it's high.
Yeah, I've heard anecdotally, I don't know the numbers, but I know that it's occurring.
Yeah, that's the slippery slope when you have these build times where they get under contract and the builder's still building it out for 3, 6, 9 months. And they're having supply issues on the building side. And then all of a sudden you got under contract at the end of last year when rates were 3s, and now you're looking at rates at 5.5. Yeah, it's a little bit of an issue. So
yes.
I get it.
We lost Aaron's face.
Fade to black. Hopefully we can still hear him. Oh, there he is. He's back.
I had to be a realtor for a second.
Oh, gotcha. Nice. So in closing, we're already to our half an hour, which is crazy fast. In closing, what are you doing for the rest of summer, man? You taking any time off, or are you just making hay right now?
Finally, I am at the end of this month. So heading over to see you, going over to Idaho. CDA in the house. Yeah, we're gonna rent a boat and go on Lake Coeur d'Alene, hang out.
You're gonna love it. It's an amazing lake, and by the time you get here, it might actually be halfway swimmable because it is still cold, my friend. We finally just melted off all the snow. So I think in another month's time, because we're going to be in the mid 80s the rest of this month, I think you're going to find a very pleasurable time out there on Lake Coeur d'Alene. So
awesome!
Excited. Hit me up when you're here. Hit me up when you're here, dude. We'll go grab some drinks or have a dinner or what have you.
Cool. Will do.
Right on. Well, Aaron, thanks for joining us, and travel safe and enjoy the beautiful month of July.
All right, you guys take care.
Right on. Talk soon.
All right, bye.
Bye. Well, there you have it, folks. It's the most buyer-friendly, not buyer's market, buyer-friendly market in the last 4 years.
The sky's not falling.
Sky is not falling. So I like I said, I think everybody's getting acclimated and back to where rates should be, and then just applying it from there. So thank you all for joining us. If you guys have any questions, hit us up, DM us, share, like, and comment. If you do have any of those comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'd love to answer them for you. And look forward to our next episode of Real Estate Now. Stacy, mahalo.
Aloha.
Aloha. Right on. We'll catch you later.
See